Paul. You're sleeping with Cynthia. In my own house. Precious stood at the doorway, her wrapper shaking in her hands, her eyes wide with disbelief. Paul stood there, shirtless, confused, but not denying it. And on the bed was Cynthia, her best friend, her sister in the compound, the same woman who shared stew with her last week. Precious's voice cracked. I fed you. I covered you when you had nothing. I gave you my only soap to bath when you had rash on your body. Cynthia said nothing. Paul just wore his trousers in silence. But what Precious didn't know, this betrayal didn't start today. It started the moment she collected that soap from Mama Chidinma. The moment she smiled and said, "Thank you, Ma." 2 weeks earlier, the compound had been buzzing. Chatter, gossip, laughter. They were like one big family in that face me, I face you compound. But behind the plastic smiles was envy, bitterness, and juju. Precious and Paul were the only peaceful couple in the entire building. No loud quarrels, no slaps, no curses. They were happy, and that happiness made some people uncomfortable. One afternoon, after fetching water from the well, Precious bumped into Mama Chidinma. The old woman smiled too widely. On. Precious, you're glowing. See how husband love day show for your body. Precious blushed. Mama, it's God. Mama stepped closer. Take this soap. It's local black soap I mixed myself. Good for cleansing your body. Use it at night. Precious hesitated, but she was raised to respect elders. She collected it, smiled, said, "Thank you." She had no idea that the soap wasn't meant to cleanse her, it was meant to open her marriage for invasion. That night, after her usual evening bath, Precious opened the black nylon bag. Inside was a black bar of soap, rough, smelling of ashes and bitter leaves. She hesitated for a moment, then remembered how Mama Chidinma said it would cleanse her body. She lathered it gently and washed herself. But as she bathed, she didn't notice a small ant crawling on the wall beside her. Then another, and another. From the roof, a dark moth fluttered and landed on her shoulder. She flinched, but it was already too late. By the next morning, Paul had changed. Subtly. He didn't say, "Good morning." He didn't kiss her forehead like he used to. She thought maybe he was tired. By day 3, he no longer came home early. By day 5, he stopped touching her at all. Meanwhile, in the corridor of the compound, Cynthia had started changing too. She used to be the quiet one. Now she laughed loudly whenever Paul passed. She used to borrow Precious's slippers. Now she walked barefoot to Paul's door at night. One night, Precious woke up, and Paul wasn't on the bed. She found him sleeping in the parlor. When she asked why, he just said, "I don't like your smell these days." Her heart broke. The soap. It had a smell. Bitter. Leafy. Cold. But Precious said nothing. The following evening, Cynthia knocked. She brought food. "Just taste it," she said. "Paul told me you've not been eating well." Precious stared at the plate. Jollof rice. Boiled egg. Scented with thyme. She collected it. Smiled weakly. "Thank you." But something didn't sit right. She didn't eat the food. She threw it away once Cynthia left. The next morning, Paul shouted, "Why would you throw Cynthia's food away? She took her time to cook for you." That day, Precious cried into her wrapper. Inside the kitchen, alone, she knelt on the floor and whispered, "God, please, something is wrong. Something is wrong and I don't understand it." But in another part of the compound, in Mama Chidinma's room, Cynthia sat with her eyes closed. A red candle burned slowly. Mama Chidinma chanted, "As the soap washes her, let her husband forget her. As she smiles, let her womb be cold. As he eats from Cynthia, let his tongue despise Precious." And just like that, the spell was sealed. 3 days later, Precious came back from the market early, A voice in her spirit told her to return. She opened the door slowly. She heard music, laughter. She saw Paul's shoes at the door, and Cynthia's slippers beside his. Her heart began to beat fast. She walked toward the bedroom. Then she saw it. Her husband and her friend, lying together, laughing, half-dressed. She froze. Cynthia turned. Didn't even look surprised. Paul stood up and shouted, "Why are you barging in like that? You don't even knock." Precious felt something in her brain crack. She dropped her basket. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She walked out, barefoot, and collapsed by the well. Neighbors gathered. Mama Peace. Aya Bose. Sunday the tenant. They poured water on her face. She didn't respond. Someone shouted, "Call the pastor." Another said, "Go and call her mother." But Precious lay still, lips whispering something only God could hear. That night, she packed a small bag and left the compound. Nobody knew where she went. Not even her sister in the next town. Paul didn't bother looking. Cynthia moved into her room the following week. They laughed, played music, and lived like a couple. But what they didn't know is that the same soap used on Precious had started reacting. It started with itching. First, Cynthia complained that her skin was burning after every bath. Then came the boils, small, red, painful, spreading across her chest and back. Paul told her to use Dettol. She did. It got worse. One morning, she screamed so loud the entire compound gathered. Her face had swollen. Her eyes could barely open. She had blisters on her lips. And that night, she dreamt. In the dream, she saw Precious, dressed in white, standing at the same well where she fainted. Precious didn't say a word. She just stared. And behind her were ants crawling from the well, covering the ground, crawling toward Cynthia's feet. Cynthia woke up screaming. Paul rushed her to the clinic. They said it was a spiritual attack. He laughed. All this superstition. The doctor handed him a list of drugs. But that night, Paul himself started sweating heavily in his sleep. The next morning, he looked at Cynthia. And for the first time, her face disgusted him. He stood up from the bed and spat on the floor. He didn't know what came over him. Cynthia cried, "You said you loved me." Paul shouted, "You're not even fine again. Look at your face. You look cursed." And that's when Cynthia knew. Mama Chidinma's soap had expired. Or worse, it had reversed. Meanwhile, Precious had found refuge in a small prayer house on the outskirts of town. Led by a quiet woman called Mummy Ada, the place had no signboard, only a white cloth hanging at the gate. For 7 days, she fasted. She didn't ask for her husband back. She only prayed for peace. And on the 8th day, while praying, Mummy Ada walked up to her and said, "That soap you bathed with. It was an exchange charm. They gave you something that took your glory, and gave it to another. But the fire of God is not a joke." That same night, Mama Chidinma woke up and saw her mirror crack on the wall. The pot under her bed exploded. Her candle refused to light. She screamed. Nobody heard her. She ran to Cynthia's room, only to find Cynthia rolling on the floor, her skin covered in sores. Paul stood by the door, crying and confused. "Do something, Mama. You said it would work." But Mama Chidinma just whispered. It was supposed to last longer. Not this fast. The next morning, Mama Chidinma packed her things and disappeared from the compound. Rumors said she ran to Benin. Others said she entered the river behind the market and was never seen again. As for Cynthia, her face never healed. She covered it with scarf. She now begged for coins at the same bus stop where she once slayed with sunglasses. And Paul? He lost his job a week later. His company said they no longer needed his services. He fell sick, lost weight, drank too much. And one day, he sat outside the compound, head in his hands, weeping. "Precious," he whispered. "I'm sorry." But Precious was gone. She had started a new life, in a new town. One evening, a young girl in the new town asked Precious, "Auntie, why don't you have a husband?" Precious smiled gently and replied, "Because I once shared a roof with a demon, but God delivered me." And the girl asked, "Do you hate him?" She smiled again. "No, I don't hate anyone. But I will never collect soap from just anybody, again." I hope you like this story. Please like and subscribe to my channel.